Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Details. Today we have something really special for you. We have a Lancia Stratos. Now, this is the first time I've actually seen this car in person. I've heard about it and seen pictures, but I don't know what I'm getting into, which is kind of fun, I guess. Sort of walking up to the edge of a cliff and standing there. So let's take a lap around this Stratos and see what we need to do today. You're going to see some really interesting things that you won't see on any other car, and probably the greatest windshield known to man. Since this is the first time I've looked at this car in person, I wanted to get a general overview. So the first thing we did was we opened everything up. Since these cars were built for homologation, basically built for racing, you're going to see a lot of things that are kind of, for lack of a better term, raw. Like the inside of this, which is all heavily textured. You can see the weave of the fiberglass. I mean, not something that was completely finished. It was just put together so that it pretty much covers this front trunk area. We're going to start here in the front wheel well on the driver's side, work our way up through the top finishes here, and then into this well and this well. So you got basic stuff, your wiper motor and the brake reservoirs up in here. This is stuff that usually doesn't get wet. It's got a nice rubber seal around it. A little funky, so we're going to clean that up a little bit, make it a little bit better quality. And then we'll pull the spare, we'll work our way around to the other side and do the same thing over there. So it's just general cleaning at this point. We're going to use just a basic quick detailer, maybe a little degreaser here and there. But for the most part, the car is pretty clean. It's not too bad. It hasn't run any rallies recently. So with that in mind, we're going to get started over here. I like to use the older microfiber towels. These are the ones that have already been through a couple rounds of cleaning the exterior and gone through a washing cycle or two. So now in the towel hierarchy, these are getting ready to do wheel wells and rockers, that sort of thing. Depending on how they fare, I may either wash them separately or at this point throw them away if they're too greasy. When I'm working on a car like this is, as I said, really the first time I've looked at it. I always find things that are a problem, whether it's in this particular case, this rubber seal here, which is a pretty generic rubber seal, Italian. You can probably get this, there's a number of places that can source this. But really, this is getting to a point where it's starting to get hard and brittle. So it's probably a good idea. So, but I always try to point stuff out like that. I suggest to the owner at that point whether he wants to replace or repair, whatever the case may be. And that way we can keep the car in perfect condition as we go along. All right, so we've got the front compartment pretty much clean. Whenever with a quick detailer, a couple spots we had to use a little bit of a degreaser in there. I removed the washer bag and a couple of funny things. With the spare tire out, there is nothing under the spare tire. You're actually looking through onto the ground instead of having some big plastic well or something in there. Also, the heater blower itself is under the spare tire. Kind of a funny spot to put that because it's right. It just doesn't make any sense, but it's very simple and very effective. But coming across here, I cleaned up the badge. We did this whole inside hood area. So now we're ready to put the spare back in and then move on to the engine compartment. One other quick thing I wanted to point out, which I'll point out to the owner as well, is that the back of the wheel is starting to show some corrosion pulling through. These are magnesium wheels, so it's something to really be aware of. Once that process starts, it never stops. It'll need to be stripped of its original paint, and a lot of the process today, they use an epoxy primer before it's painted to keep that from happening again. So I'll just note it, and I'll pass it on to the owner. That's something that should be addressed in the future. We're going to start in the engine compartment now. A little bit unusual setup in here, something a little different. Kind of walk you through some of the more interesting areas of the car. We're going to start cleaning. We'll start here with the back side of the bonnet and then work our way into the engine compartment here and then down into the suspension on this side. Then we'll move over to the other side and start the process all over again. Basically, this is just a raw fiberglass finish in here. And then it's got some kind of almost like a texture to it, almost like an undercoating kind of thing is the best way I can describe it. And probably just for stone protection so it doesn't blow things through the glass itself and through the inside of the fenders or outside of the fenders. It's kind of difficult to work with because the dirt tends to settle in on these little cracks and crevices. So you really have to work it kind of hard to get in there to get it loose. You can see here just how fragile these cars are. You can also see the weave in here where the fiberglass is just rolled onto itself, and there's an edge here of just raw fiberglass and resin. So we're moving on to the left side of the car now. We're going to work a little bit down here. The transmission end of it is here, and we've got the coil spring and the coil over shock. We're also going to work here, cleaning this again like we did before. I want to focus here with the fuel tank and all that. There's a lot of action going on in here. So you'll see some nice contrast between different parts. Then we'll move our way back up to the top again. We'll clean inside that panel as we did earlier, and we'll do the top of the engine, and we should be just about buttoned up here in the engine compartment. Getting started on the interior now of the Stratos. So a lot to go over in here. A lot of different things. It's things you'll probably never see again or before. A couple of quick things. It doesn't need a lot of cleaning. We're gonna have to do something here with this carpet, which again, looks like indoor-outdoor pool carpet. It's very thick, heavy felt. Not much to it, but it's I guess functional just to keep dirt off the floor. And it's piped in vinyl, so it should be really easy to clean. We're going to go over that a little bit, but a couple of cheater things we're going to do too is one of the best investments is black microfiber towels. So when I'm working on black seats, black cloth up here, any of that stuff, this is the best cheater. I do it on black convertible tops as well. What happens is it doesn't leave any lint, and if it does, you'll never see it. So just a little side note, great investment. So we're going to start here. We'll wipe down the seats a little bit. I've got some cleaning product on here, just a mild interior cleaner. And then I don't want to use any kind of cleaner on this dash because of what it is. So it started out with an actual fabric on it or sort of a texture to it, which that texture is now gone. So we want to be just sort of err on the side of caution and take our time on the dash and use very little cleaning stuff. But we will move across to these switches. We'll do something with the gauges. But I think after that, we're going to start on the most interesting part of this car, which is the glass, this windshield. And you'll see why in a few minutes. The thing about these switches, and a lot of these older cars, when they get these 70s cars, is that the plastic switches and things get very, very brittle. So you want to be careful not to over clean them and use the wrong material, because you will melt them or just damage the switches themselves. We have the power off on the car, so we can mess around with this and not worry about draining the battery or turning something on that we're not supposed to. Shifter's done, we're going to move on. Well, this comes to one of the more interesting aspects of the Lancia Stratos. So this is the door panel, which is molded, just a big piece of molded fiberglass. But what's interesting about it, there's a number of things. First of all, this area here, which is cut out, is meant to hold your helmet when you're not racing. Basically fits in here upside down. And this is how you control the window. Just going to tuck this in here for now. So loosen the little threaded piece here, and the window slides down the track like that. Tighten it back up so it doesn't rattle. Next thing we'll do when we finish cleaning in here, there's a couple little scuffs and chips on the knob itself and up in this area, so we're going to fill those in with a little bit of semi-gloss black. But we want to make sure this is all clean first, so that's what I'll do now. And then just the last thing, this is of course how you open it, but what's interesting is back here, this is the door lock. So when the door is closed, you push this lever down. And it doesn't seem like a big deal. It's just, okay, it's a door lock, big deal, right? But when you're sitting in the seat, it's next to impossible to reach. So better not hope the doors are locked. So I'm going to get started just giving this a quick wipe down, and we'll move on to doing the touch-up, and we'll show you around. But as you can see, this is the extent of the window going down. That's it. That's all you get. Okay, just going to mix up a little bit of touch-up paint and come right back. So this is what it takes to detail cars, by the way. What's pretty funny about this is not the way I'm positioned in this interior, but the fact that I can get the entire glass just in one big sweep is actually pretty cool. I mean, there are very few cars that enable you to clean the glass all at one time and get every corner. Still the greatest windshield yet. Haven't seen a better one. Okay, we just finished up the interior. A little bit of detailing we needed to do in here. So we're going to start on the outside glass. Now I've already cleaned the inside glass of the windshield, a little bit on the back side, that sort of thing. To clean the outside of the glass, we're going to button everything up, and we're actually going to use a glass polish so we get the best finish we possibly can. I should probably preface this by telling you I hate doing glass. Glass is the worst job I have. I can never get it right. And I've worked on all kinds of cars, all different kinds of windshields. I've had people help me where I could never reach the end of the glass, McLaren F1 as an example. If you ever get it mastered, it really is such an incredible thing. First of all, to the owner, when he gets in the car for the first time, it's very dramatic, and it's something that they all really appreciate because they don't know how to do glass either. On the other hand, if you get it wrong, it's also the worst thing that can happen to you. I do it 3-4 times sometimes just to make sure I get it right. But I find the only way to cheat is when you're cleaning the glass, you go one direction this way. And something like these glass towels are really cool because you use the fuzzy side to when they're damp, and then flip it over and polish with the smooth side, and I go the opposite direction. So the other way I cheat is once I get to here, sometimes I'll put a light inside the car and just shine it through the glass and see where we are. In this particular case, we got this pretty well, so we're going to move right on to polishing. And again, what may be the coolest windshield on earth. We're going to polish this windshield. We're going to use the little orbital buffer on here. First things first, we'll tape out the molding. The molding's painted black and it has this nice silicone gloop in here, technical term. And I just want to make sure that we cover that so we don't do any damage to it. So this is just a low tack tape, and we'll tape this out. We'll be really careful just hitting the glass. So I've already applied our polish to this. We're going to start out just as if we were buffing this. We're just going to smear it around a little bit. I have this set on 1, This is actually a rotary buffer, like old school. We're using a 3-inch pad and just letting the polish do the work. I'm going to spread it around and bring the speed up a little bit. So thanks for joining us on this episode of Beyond the Details. Today we had a lot of fun cleaning up this Lancia Stratos. We did the polishing the glass, we cleaned the engine compartment and the interior, did some touch up in there, and more importantly got an inside look at a car that most people have never really seen in person. Shout out to Jason Cammisa to thank him for letting us borrow his studio. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. Hope to see you again soon.